Good evening, voters. Tonight we have two crisp and brief debates. Here's debate number one. When anybody mentions traffic woes, when one speaks of traffic trouble, one of the first metros that comes to everyone's mind is Bengaluru. As per a recent study, 1 crore daily trips are undertaken by vehicles in the city of Bengaluru that has a population of 1.2 crore. By 2031, this number of trips is expected to increase to 2 crores each day. The citizens of Bangalore lose 60 crore hours. If you translate that into money, 3,700 crores a year to road congestion. Now, all these may be statistics to some of you. In other words, and in simpler words, it is just hell to drive through the roads of Bengaluru. Other cities aren't much better. But tonight we focus on the IT city. That is because the government of Karnataka is now focusing and is going ahead with an elevated corridor project. This involves 7 elevated corridors across different parts of the city, and this entire project that could take about 8 to 10 years will cost about 25,000 crore rupees to be built. The Karnataka government says that this will help ease congestion. This will resolve the traffic woes for the citizens of Bengaluru. So why is it then that the citizens themselves and the experts are opposing this project so vehemently? Remember, a few years ago, there were these massive protests across the city of Bengaluru against the steel flyover that the then government was contemplating. After a huge public outrage and pressure, the government was forced to scrap that flyover. But in that sense, the steel flyover was supposed to be environmentally damaging and wouldn't really help too many people of Bengaluru, except of course the VVIPs, because the plan was to directly connect the poshest part of the Bengaluru city right up to the airport. But this plan is different. So let's try and understand what the objections are, whether those objections are valid. Is this a debate which is about anti-development, or is this the debate to save the environment of Bengaluru? Joining us this evening, Nivedit Alwa, spokesperson for the Congress Party, Anand Gurupurthy, spokesperson for the BJP, and Leo Saldana, an environmentalist. And I'm going to go across to Leo Saldana first to try and understand from him what are the big issues that many people have regarding this project, Leo.
Well, I think one of the most important thing to consider is that this is a solution that is pulled out every time we talk about traffic congestion. There are a range of solutions which are never talked about, and then we rush to, build these mega projects. Now, mega projects means mega bucks and mega contracts, and one obviously is worried when there is no transparency and accountability in these projects. There is a lot of leakage. But more substantially, I think there is an issue of impact, both environmental and social. And the environmental impact is quite substantive and irreversible. And the social impact is also irreversible because a large number of livelihoods which are connected to the streets, particularly of street vendors, gets displaced, and they are never allowed to come back. Now, a street vendor, if he or she does not vend for a few weeks, is forever suffering the loss of livelihood, because you can never say, hey, come back in 5 or 10 years, because they don't have such staying power. And the corridors also have another major problem, because it actually acts as tunnels, and it traps dust and traps smoke, automobile exhaust in particular, which circulates within the neighborhood, and basically the houses and the shops and whatever buildings are abutting the corridor will be the most impacted, which means people living there and working there will be, inhaling many times more, amount of smoke and toxic gases than is normally the, ambient inhalation problem when air is bad. So I think we have to think through this. And then Bangalore is also a city which was, now, considering what we know Bangalore, most of its tree lines are gone. And if you remove the tree lines, you're going to create a heat island, because this basically works as a heat island, and it blocks heat. It doesn't allow the heat to radiate out, and therefore the energy consumption of buildings abutting corridors also shoots up, which means the water also shoots up, because all buildings are cooled with air cooling systems now. So in effect, we really have a very, very serious implication to building corridors. And this is not the way to deal with congestion anywhere.
Okay, let me bring in Nivedit Alva. Nivedit Alva, what is your response to the issues that have been raised largely to say that environmentally this will be damaging for the entire city of Bengaluru?
Okay, hi, good evening. I missed, I don't even know who was speaking, and I missed the first part of it because I couldn't hear anything. But anyway, what I have to say is, look, the city of Bengaluru is growing by leaps and bounds, like all of us know. I mean, there are 80 lakh vehicles which are on the road. Bangalore was 220 square kilometers once upon a time. In the last time, 110 villages or so were added around. It's now over 800 square kilometers. Right? Now, first of all, I don't see why every single time any development or anything is talked about in Bangalore, it suddenly becomes everyone's favorite whipping horse. The same has happened in Delhi, the same has happened in Mumbai, the same has happened in cities all over the world. So how is it that Bangalore, that every time any development is talked about in Bangalore, people start raising a hue and cry about it? Secondly, on the environmental part, I agree completely that greenery is a must, our trees are a must. The government has already gone on record saying that they will not cut down any trees, that the trees will be transplanted and relocated, and wherever possible, then brought back to original locations. So that's the environment part of it. The other thing is, why is the flyover only being seen or elevated corridors or flyovers? First of all, this is a plan which has been put forward, which is now slowly moving forward. But this is part of an overall part of it. The metro is being constructed. The phase 2 is going to link in the satellite parts around Bangalore. The connectivity to the airport is coming up by 2023. There is all around electric buses are being talked about. We already have 15 lakh people using the 6,000 BMTC buses on the roads every day. The metro came to Delhi. Flyovers came to Delhi, where the whole ring road was made signal free and
sure. Okay, so let's take it issue by issue, Mr. Alva.
The traffic non-stop around the flyovers in Delhi. Why is it that Bangalore, as soon as anything comes to Bangalore, first of all, Bangalore is today one of India's most happening cities, most dynamic cities.
Yes, can you hear me, Mr.
Alva?
People
from all across
Allow
the country
me to come in between.
Are moving to Bangalore from all across the world are coming here.
1 minute. That's not just Bengaluru. It's happening to many other metro cities. Pune is seeing influx of people from across the country. Mumbai continues to see that. Delhi continues to see that. That being said, Bengaluru is not the only city that we raise. Yes, let me just interject here. I will come back to you. Firstly, citizens of Mumbai have also repeatedly stood up and questioned some of the development projects of the government when it has not been in the interest of the environment and in the interest of citizens.
There is nothing
so please don't sit here and play the victim card to say when it is about Bangalore, why do people stand up and ask these questions and not ask these questions when it's any of the other cities? Of course, some more credit given to the citizens of Bengaluru because they are a lot more aware and participative in their governance. Yes. Now allow me to finish my point, please. The other aspect that you said, these 7 elevated corridors, are they really essential to solving the traffic woes of the city? That's essentially the point that the experts and the environmentalists and the cities and the citizens are raising. If you have a metro plan, if you have an electric bus supply plan, why don't you just focus on that? Is this necessary? Because if you're talking about decongestion, you're also enabling people to bring in more cars on a daily basis.
What is wrong in looking at it? What is wrong in looking at it? I'm sorry, what is wrong in looking at it in a 360-degree approach where you're looking at roads, where you're looking at buses? Are you saying if the metro comes and if 3,000 buses are added, that everybody's going to stop traveling by road? Are you saying that there's a guarantee you can tell me tomorrow that there is metro connectivity to every stop in Bangalore that everybody stopped going using their cars?
Okay.
I mean, because you're developing the metro and adding buses and bringing about other positives to public transportation doesn't mean that you stop developing roads.
All right, let me take your point and take it to other panelists.
The roads are being developed. There are
Mr. Alva, let's go point by point.
Roads have been changed to concrete. There is an overall plan for the city which is being put together. So why is it being looked at as one thing being taken? Are there not elevated corridors in Bangalore which are already functioning towards Whitefield and stuff like that?
Would you like answers to some of your questions and rebuttal to that? Or would you want this to be a monologue of the Congress party? Nivedit Alva, would you like somebody to respond to what you're raising? Or is this just a platform you think for your monologue? Can I please go to the other panelists now on some of the points you have raised? Thank you. Anand Gurumurthy, where do you stand on this debate? Is this the solution to the environmental and the traffic woes of the city? Could there have been a better option?
See, basically, Bangalore city as such, I am a born and brought up Bangalorean and have lived in the city for 36 years. It has one of the best green covers, agreed. But today, Bangalore city's population is very high. It's crossed 1 crore, and only 10 lakh people are supported by the mass rapid transport system that we have, whether it is buses or metro or anything. The rest use their own vehicles, and our roads, which were designed in 50s, 30s, 40s by the Britishers, and then an independent government that came up, are not sufficient. And we need a grand Bangalore plan, and building these elevated corridors, then interlinking all these suburban trains and many other projects have to be taken up. At the same time, the afforestation projects, like planting more trees in and around Bangalore, that has to be taken up by the government too. From the BJP side, many of our Sangha Parivar organizations, and also especially to give an example, Mr. Anant Kumar, our Bangalore South MP, regularly had tree planting programs. And not only do we plant trees, we used to also ensure that they're taken care of for the first 3 years. The plants are planted and then taken care of for first 3 years till they grow up to a height of around 10 to 15 feet. So these kinds of things should happen not only from the government side but also from the citizen side. This is very important for the next generation of Bangalore, because whatever trees we are seeing today were planted by our forefathers. So we have to set the same example, not only doing all these elevated projects, which we are pro. Yes, BJP is pro development, and we need these roads because our youngsters are on road for almost 4 hours a day, traveling to and fro to their offices, which should not happen. The time of travel should be reduced, and we are with any development project to ease this situation. At the same time, the afforestation project, which the government for the last 5-6 years has just not cared for, should happen at a rapid pace.
Okay.
And soon after the afforestation, the plants should be taken care of.
No, so in this case, where the
This is our
government
point of view.
and the Chief Minister have come out to clarify, and this is what even Mr. Alva is saying, that they're going to shift these trees to another location, perhaps to a park, into other parts of Bengaluru. So it's not as if the trees are going to be lost forever for the city. Mr. Leo Saldana, does that help? That if 3,500 or 4,000 trees are going to be removed from this part, they will be planted elsewhere?
Maharaja of Mysore.
Mr. Gurumurthy, I'll come back to you. Let me just get response from Mr.
Mysore, Mr.
So
Yes, Mr. Saldana, please.
I'm kind of humored by the fact that Janata Dal, Congress and BJP are agreeing to, at least on this aspect. It's a very rare convergence of views. And, they call it pro-development, but development really has to be contextualized in terms of what is the output of it. And here I can see that the output is really that those who are capable of using these elevated roads, which is only those who use private modes of travel, will be advantaged. Now, both of them are wrong on one aspect. Not 10 lakhs or not 15 lakh people use the buses. The buses are used, the 6,500 buses are used by up to 45-50 lakhs. We need to improve the bus system. We need to make it accessible. We need to make it cheaper. We need to make it, convenient across the city, because it's a radial city. It's not a linear city like Bombay, where you can, move things up and down. So it spreads around. So Bangalore has its own type of typical problems because of this geography. And it has probably the highest number of intersections, maybe 25,000 intersections. It's basically poor planning that happened because of the Bangalore Development Authority, which has caused this mess. The quicker we shut it down, it's better. But the problem now we have with the corridors is it is same agencies which have destroyed the character of the city and created the mess that the city is now in are being employed to rescue the city. And they have come up with the most ridiculous proposal because elevated corridors don't work. It never worked across the world. And in many parts of the world, corridors are being pulled down. You can go to Seoul, you can go to Texas, you can go to New York, you can go to Curitiba, you can go to Durban, you can go to... I've traveled many of the cities and I've seen that in all of the cities, corridors are being pulled down, which means that they're incentivizing public transport through bus-based modes of travel, which is the cheapest in terms of the carbon that is consumed as well as in terms of the cost. Metro, for instance, despite having invested 17,000 crores, only moves 4.5 lakh people every day. Even if you expand the metro, it's never ever going to cover the type of passenger demands that we have in Bangalore. The
Right.
real response to that is to make the city walkable, cyclable, and also busable almost everywhere. And if you actually study the road surface of Bangalore, it is rather inefficiently used. Now, both these gentlemen would do well if they came with me and actually saw the city from a perspective not from inside their cars, but from the cycle, from by walking, and by actually trying to cross, and from the perspective of the street vendor. And not just talk about trees as the loss. Yes, trees cannot be replaced by transplanting them. It has failed. It was tried when the metro was built. It is a colossal failure. It's a waste of money. And I think that's the kind of thing that they have this technology. They'll show you Singapore, they'll show you Shanghai, and the cost involved in transplanting a massive tree that we have. Some of
Right.
these really heritage trees can never be replaced, and they also are wildlife corridors. Now they may not know this, but we have fought cases. I have fought 5 or 6 PILs on this, and the court has agreed with me that the response to this has to be planned and participatory development. It cannot be because BJP or Janata Dal or Congress suddenly decided to sit together and say, hey, let's do this together, that they can go ahead, because there are laws which they have to follow. And most of these laws they have not even started complying with the legal framework to promote the project. So I would say, if they really mean it, let them put the papers out. Let them put all of it online.
Okay,
There are
so
lots of
let me
papers
pick a
also.
couple of points that you've raised, Mrs. Saldana, and take it to Nivedit Alva. Firstly, what Mrs. Saldana is saying, that really transporting trees from one point to the other and replanting them doesn't work, and you've seen that in the case of the metro projects. Secondly, here is my larger question into what he was also saying, that are you guys taking the easy way out? Let's build more flyovers, let's build more elevated corridors, rather than having a proper long-term vision and a plan that includes public transport, that includes better planning and designing of the cities, better expansion of the city, the way it's done. That city management is not something that the governments are focusing on. Mr. Alva.
First of all, I don't think that anyone is trying to take the easy way out. I repeat what I was saying earlier, that please do not look at a particular elevated stretch in itself. What the government has also cleared is a peripheral ring road project which goes around the city that will divert incoming truck traffic and stuff like that, so it doesn't need to go through the city to go to Chennai or to go to Tumkur or to go to other directions. On top of that, the metro is in place. Phase 2 of the metro is going to be complete. Connectivity to the airport is going to be there by 2023. There are some elevated projects, corridor projects in Bangalore, which are already fully functional and being used by thousands of people every day.
Yeah.
Electric buses are being talked about. Upkeep and betterment of roads which are already there. You have to understand that in a lot of places in Bangalore, the roads are very narrow, right? You cannot broaden them anymore because of the way the city was initially was never envisioned like this. So now the same people, I agree on the environment part of it. Yes, the trees not being I mean, you can argue it from both sides. On one side, if you say you're not transplanting the trees, people have a problem. If you're saying they're being transplanted also, you're finding a problem. I mean, at development has to come at a certain cost, yes. But when a government is trying to bridge the gap and trying to find a way in which you can make the maximum amount of it coming together from the point of view of connectivity, from the point of view of ease for its citizens in the future, then that has to be looked out as a whole picture. You can't just look at it as a corridor. And
Okay.
the simple thing I'm saying again,
So,
today, the airport corridor, which connects the airport to the city, is an elevated corridor. The what connects Whitefield and Electronic City to the city is an elevated corridor. So why is suddenly one
No,
part of it being seen
the
separately?
point about
Why is the
elevated
peripheral ring
corridors,
road not being talked about?
that
Why
Mr.
are
Alva is
underpasses?
not,
You
Mr.
cannot
Alva, what
just
you are not
you cannot
clarifying
take
is,
one
in
part
each
of
of
it
these
and keep
elevated
beating it.
corridors,
okay.
in each
So,
of, these elevated corridors, there are bottlenecks. When you get off the elevated corridor from the airport, you get stuck for a pretty long time at the Hebbal junction. It happens at the Silk Board junction when you come from the electronic city. Elevated corridors move congestion from one point to another. They're not a solution to congestion. This is science. This is not your opinion or mine. This is well-studied science. This is about urban planning. This is about making cities work. It cannot be a point of your view, the political
See,
view, and you are
I
trying to
just
rescue
want to
the
make
city,
a
and the
point
rest
here.
of us are just trying to block development. We are not. We are actually trying to say, let's put the money.
So are you saying that elevated corridors have not worked
Okay,
anywhere in the
okay.
world?
I just want to make a point
Are
here.
you saying that elevated corridors have not worked
One,
anywhere in the
one
world?
minute, 1 minute,
I mean, there are
gentlemen.
countries today which are going to not the elevated corridor, going to second level
Okay.
and third level of corridors.
Okay,
I
okay.
mean, what are you
Firstly,
saying?
I don't think we can compare what happens in other parts of the world to us. And I think dedicated bus corridors is a great example of what may have worked in other cities across the world, but have certainly not worked in many of the cities in our country. So let's not go into comparing those details. Here is my question to you, Mr. Alva. Did you carry out a study?
Why should
I
you
just
not
want to make
compare?
a
Have
Why
you
point
should
here
you
with
carried
compare
respect to
out
Bangalore city.
because
other
each
parts of the
city
world?
functions differently, each people of each city function differently. The demands and the
Let's talk
impact
with
is
respect to
different.
Bengaluru, and I
Now
want to
here
make a
is my
point with respect
question.
to Bengaluru.
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Gurumurthy, I'm coming to you, but I have one question that I would want
Yes.
Mr. Alva to answer. Is there a study that you have carried out to, is there any evidence to suggest that elevated corridors in the city of Bengaluru have actually worked? Or have they only led to more traffic in the city?
I'm sorry, the elevated corridors which I have used in electronic, which I have used myself, have worked perfectly. They've got me from one place to the other much faster. You've paid a toll, you've gone on to it. Those who don't want to pay the toll are down. And yes, it has gotten me from one place to the other, not only like I'm saying in Bangalore, but in many parts of the world. So I personally feel that there is nothing, again, I am saying, but not at the cost of the environment. Not obviously when they are built, you are going to see what happens at the end of it. This is a proposal. They've cleared it. They will be done one at a time across the cities. What the government has said. They've not said that they're starting work on 6 of them tomorrow morning. The other thing I want to say, the point which was raised earlier about the legal framework. All projects which are done by the government will be done with people's participation. There will be open houses like they happen for all projects where people will raise their points of view
Okay.
and the government will then act.
So here is the
Not going to
message
break
for the
any law,
citizens
and no,
then.
the government is not going to do
That the
anything
government
illegal.
is open for views from the citizens, because at the end of the day, this is going to impact your life. Sanjay
Yes,
Pandey
it
is on the
always
phone
is.
line
It always
from
is.
Bengaluru.
It's a
Let's
government
listen
of the
in to
people,
one of our
elected by the people,
viewers
yes.
and voters of Bengaluru. Good evening, Sanjay. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Tanvi. I have a couple of observations for Mr. Alva. I'm staying in Bangalore since 2004, and I have planted more than 10,000 trees. I don't know how many Mr. Alva has planted, so I don't know what gives him right to cut them down. That is number one. In 2004, the average temperature in Bangalore was around 5 degrees less than what we have today. Today, the summers of Bangalore are as scorching as of Delhi. Now, what happened to my city? It was a garden city. You destroyed it, sir. Third point, sir. Let me complete one by one, then you can answer. You made a elevate this flyover in Total Mall, in front of Total Mall and EMC Square on the outer ring road. When it was being made, we said that there is going to be a bottleneck and the traffic is going to pile up. Today, in order to cross it at morning 8 o'clock, I have to spend 1 hour, whereas previously it was 10 minutes when the flyover was not there. So please answer that, is it going to increase there, or are you just making it so that some funds get allocated more properly rather than lying in treasury and being used in other places?
All right, Mr. Pandey, thank you for calling. Yes, Mr. Alva, you can respond to that, and then I'll go to Anand Gurumurthy.
Yeah, the first question, no, I've definitely not planted 10,000 trees, maybe about 100 or 150 in the last 1 year, and I've helped in the last 10 years, and maybe I've helped translocate about 5 or 6 trees which would have been cut. That's the first question he answered. The second question he asked me was on with regard to the flyovers where they've been built. But yes, in the same plan, if somebody looks at it, they've also said that where bottlenecks exist, that underpasses will be put, that ways of looking and opening it up will be added. I travel every day from Jakur into Bangalore, and the Hebal flyover, which was built a really long time ago, today is completely congested. But the fact is that people from all across the world are moving to this city. People from all across India are moving to this city. There is change. There is rapid, growth which is there in this city.
Yes.
Can we stop people from moving to Bangalore?
No,
we
absolutely
cannot.
not. Which is
So
why
Bangalore has to
a
reinvent
lot
itself and
more
keep moving,
detailed,
keep moving along. We
innovative,
cannot say that
and long-term
that
planning is
when
required.
I
A
used to come
short-term
to Bangalore as a
solution
child,
of simply just flyovers will not be acceptable, is what the others are saying. I'm sorry, I'm running out of time, Mr. Alva, which is the only reason I'm interrupting you right now. But 30 seconds to Mr. Gurumurthy, who's been wanting to make a point, and then we'll wrap it up. Mr. Gurumurthy, go ahead, please.
Yes, the thing is, all the concerns that the citizens are telling is valid. The walkways in Bangalore, they're not broad enough. The bikeways are not at all there. Then to cross the roads, it's very difficult. So this should be, along with the elevated road project that the government is taking, it should be an inclusive growth along with the buses. The last mile connectivity, we have been shouting at the top of our voice from the last 3 years. The last mile connectivity, once you get on from metro, is very poor, because of which, we are facing a lot of problems. Even after we discuss all this, the average speed of vehicles in Bengaluru has come down to 15 kilometers per hour. Let's understand this fact also. We need this very badly.
Yes.
The city is choking. So we have to take this development forward. Yes, there are certain concerns. Those should also be taken care of. And as many people are telling, people also should get involved in afforestation projects. And we should take this forward. Otherwise, our city is choking.
But also keep in mind that if you design your city and expand your city in a way that people have to drive from one corner to the other, which takes them 2 hours or 3 hours on a daily basis, then that's just bad city planning. If you plan more and more flyovers and thereby encouraging more people to buy more private vehicles, while you fail to provide them a good public transport system, then also it is bad planning. If you design the routes of your flyovers in such a way that at the beginning and the end you're going to end up in choking points which never go away, then it doesn't help anybody's traffic flow. And then it is bad planning. So perhaps all that the citizens and the experts are saying right now is think about it. Instead of rushing into this plan, let's discuss it. Let's weigh each and every aspect of this mega development project that you are planning worth 25,000 crore, and at least understand whether or not it will really help the citizens of Bengaluru.